I still remember the exact moment I realized I was invisible to my own parents. I was 19 years old, standing in our kitchen with two acceptance letters in my hand. One was for the state university, the other for a local community college. My younger brother Kevin had just gotten his acceptance to a private school across the country, and my parents were already planning his send-off party. When I showed them my letters, my mother barely glanced up from the catering menu she was reviewing. She said maybe I could figure something out on my own, since Kevin needed their full support right now. Before we dive deeper into this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments below. If stories about family struggles and ultimate triumph resonate with you, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. You will not want to miss how this journey unfolds and how everything changed when an unexpected person entered my life. My name is Marcus, and I grew up in a middle-class suburb in Ohio. From the outside, we looked like the perfect American family. Nice house, 2 cars in the driveway, a golden retriever named Biscuit. But inside those walls, there was an invisible line that divided everything. On one side stood my younger brother Kevin. On the other side stood me. Kevin was born when I was 4 years old, and from that day forward, it was like I ceased to exist. My parents called him their miracle baby because my mother had complications during pregnancy, and doctors warned them he might not survive. But he did, and that survival story became the foundation for everything that followed. Kevin was special. Kevin was precious. Kevin deserved the world. I do not want to sound bitter about a baby surviving. That is not what this is about. What this is about is the 20-plus years that followed, where every decision my parents made revolved around Kevin, while I was left to fend for myself. When we were kids, Kevin got private tutoring when he struggled with math. I had to figure it out on my own or fail. When Kevin wanted to play travel baseball, my parents rearranged their entire schedules and spent thousands of dollars on equipment fees and weekend tournaments across 3 states. When I asked to join the school debate team, which only required a $30 registration fee, my mother said they could not afford extra activities for both of us right now. The pattern continued through high school. Kevin got a brand new car for his 16th birthday, a red Mustang that he crashed within 6 months. They bought him another one. When I turned 16, I got a bus pass and a lecture about responsibility and earning my own way. I worked my first job at 15 busing tables at a diner 3 blocks from our house. By the time I was 17, I was working 2 jobs, the diner in the mornings before school and a gas station in the evenings. I saved every penny I could, knowing that when graduation came, I would be on my own. And I was right. When those acceptance letters arrived, I had already accepted my reality. My parents sat Kevin down and told him not to worry about anything. They would cover his tuition, his housing, his meal plan, his spending money. They even bought him a new laptop and a whole wardrobe of clothes branded with his university logo. When I asked about help with my tuition, my father looked at me like I had asked him to donate a kidney. He said I was older and more capable, and that I should take out loans like everyone else. He reminded me that they could not stretch themselves thin for both of us, and Kevin needed more support because he was younger and less mature. Kevin was 18. I was 22 by then because I had taken a gap year to work and save money hoping it would help. It did not matter. Nothing I did ever mattered. So I made a choice. I enrolled in the community college because it was cheaper. I moved into a tiny studio apartment above a laundromat because it was the only place I could afford. And I kept working my 2 jobs, adding a third when I could. The diner became full-time, the gas station became weekends, and 3 nights a week I delivered pizzas for a local shop called Gino's. Life in that studio apartment was nothing like what I had imagined adulthood would be. The ceiling leaked when it rained. The heating was unreliable, so I slept in 3 layers during winter. The laundromat below ran machines until 11 at night, and the vibrations traveled up through my floor like a constant earthquake. But it was mine. Every squeaky floorboard, every water stain on the ceiling, every drafty window. I had earned it with my own 2 hands, and no one could take that from me. My schedule was brutal. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning to open the diner by 5. I worked the breakfast rush until 11, then drove to my community college for afternoon classes. By 4, I was either at the gas station or picking up my pizza delivery shift. I rarely got home before midnight. I ate most of my meals at work. leftover pancakes from the diner, day-old pizza from Gino's, energy drinks from the gas station that I got at a discount. I cannot remember the last time I sat down at a real table and had a proper meal during those years. Meanwhile, Kevin was living his best life. I saw the updates on social media: spring break in Cancun, tailgate parties at football games, a new girlfriend every semester. He changed his major 3 times because he could not decide what he wanted to do. He joined a fraternity and posted pictures of their formal events, everyone dressed in suits and gowns, champagne glasses raised high. My parents visited him once a month. They drove the 6 hours each way, stayed in nice hotels, and took him out to expensive dinners. They sent him care packages filled with homemade cookies and gift cards. In 3 years, my parents visited me once. They stayed for 45 minutes, complained about the smell from the laundromat, and left without offering to take me to lunch. I told myself it did not hurt. I told myself I was stronger because of it. I told myself that everything I was building for myself, and someday it would all be worth it. But late at night, when the laundromat finally went quiet and I lay in my bed staring at the water stains on my ceiling, I could not stop the questions from coming. What was wrong with me? Why was I not enough? What had I done to make my own parents look right through me? I never found answers. I just kept working. The night that changed everything started like any other delivery shift. It was a Thursday in late October. The air had that crisp autumn bite to it, and the leaves were just starting to turn. I had 3 deliveries in my car, all to different parts of town, and I was trying to figure out the most efficient route so I could squeeze in a few extra runs before closing. The 3rd delivery was to a neighborhood I did not usually cover. Nice houses, big lawns, the kind of place where people gave decent tips because they could afford to. I pulled up to a 2-story colonial with a wraparound porch and grabbed the pizza box from my passenger seat. A man answered the door. He was maybe in his early 60s with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked at me, then at my uniform, then back at my face. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition, maybe, or confusion. He asked if I was Marcus Williams. I froze. Nobody in this neighborhood should know my name. Nobody except the credit card slip I was holding. He introduced himself. Richard Williams, my father's older brother. The uncle I had heard about exactly twice in my entire life, both times, in whispered arguments between my parents that stopped the moment I entered the room. I did not know what to say. I handed him the pizza and told him the total was $18.50. He did not reach for his wallet. Instead, he asked me to come inside. He said he thought we needed to talk. Everything in my body told me to decline. I had deliveries waiting. I had a schedule to keep. I had built my entire life around not needing anyone, especially not family. But something in his eyes made me pause. He did not look at me the way my parents did, like I was an inconvenience or an afterthought. He looked at me like I was a person worth seeing. I told my manager I was taking my break. Richard's house was warm and filled with books. A fireplace crackled in the living room. He gestured for me to sit down and disappeared into the kitchen. He returned with 2 cups of coffee and settled into the armchair across from me. He told me he owed me an explanation. He said he and my father had not spoken in over 20 years. There was a falling out, a disagreement about money and their own parents' estate. My father had said things that could not be unsaid, and Richard had chosen to walk away rather than fight. But he had kept track of us, me and Kevin. He had watched from a distance through social media and mutual acquaintances and the occasional bit of news that filtered through. He said he had seen how differently my parents treated us. He said it broke his heart, but he did not feel it was his place to interfere. Until tonight. Until he opened his door and found his nephew delivering pizzas at 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. He asked me to tell him everything. So I did. I told him about the 2 jobs, then 3. About the studio apartment and the leaking ceiling and the meals I ate standing up over a gas station counter. About the community college classes I was fighting to complete between shifts. About the acceptance letters and the car I never got and the visits that never happened. When I finished, Richard was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I will never forget. He said he could not change the past 20 years, but he could do something about the next 20, if I was willing to let him. Richard was a retired business owner. He had started a small manufacturing company in his 30s, grown it into something substantial, and sold it 10 years ago for a sum he described only as enough. He had no children of his own. His wife had passed away 5 years earlier. He lived alone in that big house with too many rooms and too much silence. He offered me a proposition. He would pay for me to transfer to a proper 4-year university and finish my degree. He would help me find better housing. He would connect me with people in his network who could help me build a career. In return, he asked for one thing. He wanted me to visit him once a week for dinner and conversation. I almost said no. My pride, that stubborn streak that had kept me going through all those years of struggle, reared up and told me I did not need charity. I had made it this far on my own. I could make it the rest of the way. But then I thought about my ceiling leaking onto my bed during rainstorms. I thought about the classes I was missing because I could not stay awake after working 16-hour days. I thought about the future I was trying to build with broken tools and no blueprint. I said yes. The next few months moved fast. Richard helped me apply to transfer to Ohio State University. My community college grades were good enough, and he wrote me a recommendation letter that apparently carried significant weight. I was accepted for the spring semester. He helped me find an apartment near campus. It was small but clean, with windows that did not leak and heating that actually worked. He co-signed the lease when my credit history was not strong enough on my own. I quit the gas station job and the pizza delivery job. Richard insisted I focus on school, but I was not ready to give up working entirely. I kept my shifts at the diner, cutting back to weekends only. It was important to me that I was still contributing something, still proving that I could carry my own weight. At Ohio State, I discovered something I had never had time to notice before. I was actually smart. Not just scraping by smart, but genuinely capable. Without the exhaustion of 3 jobs dragging me down, my grades soared. I joined study groups. I participated in class discussions. I started to imagine possibilities I had never dared to consider. Richard and I had dinner every Wednesday night. Sometimes he cooked, sometimes I did. We talked about everything and nothing. His travels when he was younger, my hopes for the future, books we were reading, problems we were working through. He became the mentor I never knew I needed and the family I had always wanted. He never badmouthed my parents, not once. When I vented my frustrations, he listened. When I expressed my hurt, he acknowledged it. But he never added fuel to the fire. He simply said that some people have limitations in their capacity to love equally, and that it says more about them than it does about the people they fail. I met a girl named Anna during my first semester at Ohio State. She was studying nursing, and we met in the campus coffee shop when we both reached for the last chocolate croissant in the display case. I let her have it. She bought me a coffee to say thanks. We talked for 3 hours and missed our afternoon classes. Anna was the first person outside of Richard who made me feel like I was worth investing in. She listened to my story without pity, only understanding. She came from her own complicated family background, and we bonded over our shared experiences of having to build ourselves up from scratch. By the end of my first year at Ohio State, my life looked nothing like it had before. I had a proper apartment, a supportive mentor, a girlfriend who believed in me, and a future that actually seemed bright. And then my parents called. The call came on a Sunday afternoon in early June. I was at Richard's house helping him clean out his garage. My phone rang, and I almost did not recognize the number because I had deleted my parents' contact information years ago. My mother's voice sounded strange, smaller than I remembered. She asked if I had a minute to talk. I stepped outside onto Richard's porch and listened. She told me that Kevin was in trouble. He had dropped out of college 6 months ago without telling them. He had been lying about attending classes while actually spending their money on parties and trips and things she did not want to specify. He had racked up significant credit card debt in their names. He had wrecked his apartment and lost his deposit. He had burned through every cent they had sent him and more. They had finally cut him off 2 months ago, and he had responded by disappearing entirely. They did not know where he was. They were worried sick, and they needed my help. I stood on that porch phone pressed to my ear and felt something I had not expected. Nothing. No satisfaction. No anger. Just a vast, empty nothing. My mother kept talking. She said they knew they had not been fair to me. She said they were sorry. She said they needed me now because I was the responsible one, the one who had always figured things out. Could I please help them find Kevin? Could I please help them fix this mess? I asked her one question. I asked why she thought I would help them after everything they had done. The silence on the other end stretched for a long time. Then she started crying. She said she knew she did not deserve my help. She said she understood if I said no. But Kevin was still my brother, and she was begging me as his mother. I told her I would call her back. I found Richard in the garage sorting through boxes of old tools. He took one look at my face and set everything down. I told him about the call, about Kevin, about my mother's tears and her apology that felt 20 years too late. Richard listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked me a simple question. He asked what I wanted to do, not what I should do, not what was right or wrong. What did I want? I thought about it for a long time. I thought about all those years of being overlooked, all those nights working until my body ached, all those moments when I needed them and they were not there. But I also thought about who I had become, the person Richard had helped me see, someone who was capable and strong and did not need revenge to feel whole. I did not want to help my parents because they deserved it. They did not. But I did not want to become someone who turned away from people in need just because I had the power to do so. That was who they had been to me. I did not want to be like them, so I helped. But on my terms. I hired a private investigator Richard recommended. We found Kevin within a week living in a rundown motel in Nevada, working as a dishwasher at a casino restaurant. He had hit bottom hard. I flew out to see him. Not my parents. Me. Kevin barely recognized me at first. He was thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under his eyes and a defeated slump to his shoulders. When he realized who I was, he started crying. He said he was sorry, not just for the current mess, but for everything. For taking what our parents gave him without ever questioning why I got nothing. For never standing up for me. For pretending not to notice the inequality because it benefited him. I told him that his apology meant something, but it did not fix anything. The only thing that could fix things was what he did from here forward. I gave him two options. I would buy him a bus ticket back to Ohio, where he could live with our parents and figure out his life under their roof. Or I would help him get into a rehab program, followed by job training, followed by a chance to rebuild his life properly. But if he chose the second option, he would have to earn every step. No handouts, no safety nets, just hard work and accountability. He chose the second option. That was 3 years ago. Today, Kevin works as an electrician's apprentice in Columbus. He has his own apartment, pays his own bills, and has not asked our parents for money since that day in Nevada. We are not close, but we are civil. We text on holidays. We acknowledge each other's birthdays. It is more than I ever expected. My parents and I have a different kind of relationship now. They reached out several times after the Kevin situation, trying to rebuild something. My mother sent long letters apologizing for the past. My father called once and said he was proud of me, which was the first time I had ever heard those words from him. I accepted their apologies because holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had better things to do with my energy. But I did not give them back the relationship they wanted. Some bridges once burned cannot be rebuilt to their original form. You can construct something new in their place, but it will never be what it was. I finished my degree at Ohio State with honors. I went on to get my MBA funded by a scholarship I earned and supplemented by Richard's continued support. Today I work as an operations manager for a logistics company. I make a good salary. I have a retirement account. I take vacations. I live a life I could not have imagined during those years in the studio apartment above the laundromat. Anna and I got married last spring. Richard walked me down the aisle, a role I asked him to fill because he was the one who had truly been a father to me. My biological parents attended the wedding. They sat in the back and cried, and I felt compassion for them rather than resentment. They had missed so much, and that was their loss to carry. Richard passed away 8 months ago, peacefully in his sleep in the house where he had first invited a tired pizza delivery driver in for coffee and conversation. He left me everything: the house, his savings, his legacy. But more than the material things he left me, the knowledge that I was worthy of love and investment, that I had value, that I mattered. I think about him every day. I keep his wire-rimmed glasses on my desk. I cook his recipes on Wednesday nights. I try to live by the philosophy he taught me through actions rather than words. Some people come into your life exactly when you need them. Not the people who should have been there all along, but the people the universe sends to fill the gaps they left behind. Richard was that person for me. A stranger who shared my blood, but none of my history, who looked at a struggling young man and saw someone worth saving. If you are out there working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, whatever it takes to survive, I see you. If your family has made you feel like you are less than like you are not worth their time or investment, I need you to hear something. Their limitations are not your destiny. Their failure to recognize your value does not diminish it. You are worthy of good things, and sometimes those good things come from the most unexpected places. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep your eyes open for the Richards in this world, the people who will see you for who you really are. And if you have become successful despite the obstacles your family placed in your way, consider reaching back. Not for the people who hurt you, but for someone else who is struggling the way you once struggled. Be the Richard for someone who needs it. That is how we break the cycle. That is how we turn our pain into purpose. I want to thank you for listening to my story today. If it resonated with you, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced favoritism in your family? How did you overcome it? Share your experiences below, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. If you found value in this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story. And if you know someone who might benefit from hearing this, please share it with them. You never know whose life you might change. Thank you for being here. I wish you strength for whatever battles you are facing, and hope for whatever dreams you are chasing. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.